I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us who we used to be. Everybody's searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone to fulfill my needs. A lonely place to be. So I learned to depend on me. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I failed, if I succeed, at least I'll live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity, because the greatest love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love of all inside of me. The greatest love of all is easy to achieve. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. And if by chance that special place that you've been dreaming of takes you to a lonely place, find yourself in love. Greetings and welcome to the Tiger's Den. This is the voice of Cheryl and I am Toothless Tiger. Coming to you tonight with the inside of the Fani Willis probe. Yeah, I'm bringing you Joycelyn Wade's attorney. And maybe you all have seen the interview. Maybe you have not. We know that this has been big story for the last, 7 to 8 weeks. And we've heard bits and pieces, and they've tried to vilify this woman who was once married to this man. And now she is supposedly the reason that all of this information came to the forefront. I think that's disingenuous. And I think it's sad enough and bad enough when you're going through a divorce, let alone become the villain to the world. It's not like they're just talking amongst friends. They're talking to the world. And by their actions, and I'm speaking of Fani Willis and Nathan Wade, they've tried every angle to keep this woman in the dark. I know a lot of people love a good gossip story, love to laugh at other people's pain. But hunting ain't fun when the rabbit got the gun. Yes, they are. And greetings, Rocky Station. Now, according to a couple of articles that I found about her, they're stating that they have divorced and has been divorced, but that's not a true statement. So I'm going to read to you the information that I have. But I think what I want to do is I try to let a few people come in, but I don't get many people anyway. So I'd be here all night trying to wait to see who's going to show up. Someone can catch it on the replay if they like, but I'm just going to put out the content. I try to be a little different in what I do because I came to YouTube to help uplift fallen humanity and not to put people down. So my content is a little bit different. Yeah, they are still married in court. That's why they tell you some of the things that you find on the internet may not be 100%. And that's a good thing that they give us an opportunity to use fair use. And then we have to also do our own disclaimer because we don't know if the information is actually 100% or not. All we know is that this is what has been reported. And we know that a story is only as good as the person who told it. So we don't know where they gathered their information. But what I want to do is allow you to hear what the attorney said about the situation. And then I want to share with you the actual hearing that they had to unseal the records. This all came about that her business became public because they wanted to depose the DA. And her attorney said she did it like that for a reason. So in all honesty, I'm going to show you the information backward. I'm going to show you her exclusive interview first, and then I'll show you the actual hearing when they got the records unsealed. It would be more juicy that way. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Yeah, I would want somebody to do that for me. I've been a married woman and divorced twice, and Lord knows it didn't make, the news and all of that good stuff. But, when you end a marriage, and especially one of the years that they shared, and what all she's gone through within her marriage, it really is devastating to become the laughing stock and called the villain. Now, I don't know anything about their marriage, and it's really none of my business. But what I do know that it is always two sides to every story, and then you can say three, the truth. And everybody seems to say that they hold the truth. Perhaps they do. I don't know. It's not my concern. Oh, okay. I am too. I am too. So why don't we take a look and let's just listen and let's just make our own conclusion. Let me make sure. I believe I have my closed caption on, but let me just make sure that I do. Yeah, I do. Okay. I appreciate you for joining. And all of you that are in the bushes, in the trees, on the sand, on the cruise, in Aruba, wherever you may be. Thank you for joining. And if you would, please, if you think you may like this information, or if you like the title, or if you think Jocelyn is absolutely beautiful, hit the like button. I would greatly appreciate it. I think the hardest thing to get people to do is to hit the like button. And I've never figured out why, but that is a very hard thing to get people to do. Here we go. And let me know if you think the music is too loud.
Where does the divorce case between Joycelyn Wade and Nathan Wade stand as of today?
As of today, we have a settlement, a consent order incorporating a settlement as to temporary alimony and temporary attorney's fees.
To somebody who's not an attorney, what does that mean?
So it's, in any case, it's not unusual for us to set up temporary financial arrangements in a case. What's unusual about this situation is that it's been over 2 years, and we're just now establishing a temporary financial arrangement, temporary support for my client who is not the earning spouse. So, and that's because of how this case has gone. But it's a normal part of the process. What's unusual is that it's taken this long.
You're a divorce attorney. How long have you worked in family law, in divorce law?
I've been in family law since 2003.
Have you ever handled a case quite like this one?
No. No, well, as far as the facts go of the case, there's not a lot unusual about it. The circumstances surrounding the case, that's what makes it unusual.
Elaborate on that a little bit for me.
Well, when we started this case, when Joyce Wade hired me, we had no idea about any of the circumstances surrounding the case. We certainly had no idea that Nathan Wade had accepted a position as a special prosecutor. So from my perspective, I was approaching it like any other divorce case.
I'm going to stop it right there and just make a comment, because some people find that hard to believe, that they had no idea. But you would be surprised at what people don't know that's right in front of them. It's so many things. So just listen to how she explains it, and I think it'll make sense. Whether we believe it or not is up to the individual, but she come across as very believable, if that means anything.
A wife who'd been married for almost 25 years to a husband, a apparently successful attorney. So we were going to undergo discovery and all the things we normally do. And then as we started to peel back the onion and questions weren't answered and things didn't make sense, that's when it turned into something else.
You mentioned that when you came onto the case, it was your understanding that you didn't know that Mr. Wade was working as a special prosecutor.
Correct.
There have been people who've caught that. You mentioned it in some filings seeking additional discovery materials over the more than 2 years now that this case has been proceeding. And there have been folks who've wondered how that could be. So I just want to put it to you, why didn't you know that Mr. Wade was a special prosecutor until at least somewhat fairly far along in the process?
Well, I can tell you that to the extent that it was public knowledge, it wasn't in any public circle that I was a part of or that Joyce was a part of. And we did not actually learn that he was the special prosecutor until around the time that the indictments came out. And in discovery, we ask about sources of income with specificity, and the answer that we received repeatedly was Nathan J. Wade, PC. So we didn't have any information, objective information, that would tell us anything about that until it became a source of public information, and that's when we started down the hole of trying to get information with regard to his income. Those were the things that weren't making sense. He didn't seem to have very much in the way of income, but he seemed to have a lot of money at his disposal. And when we learned this, that's when we started doing subpoenas to Fulton County and open records requests to figure out what on earth is going on.
You mentioned something that I want to kind of circle back on, open records requests and the subpoena. I think the divorce case really got dragged into the national spotlight when you subpoenaed Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis to sit for a deposition in this case. And I want to spend a little bit of time talking about that. And let's start here. DA Willis tried to quash that subpoena. There was a hearing. The judge stayed the subpoena at the time. Before that hearing, DA Willis filed a motion in response trying to quash the subpoena. And she wrote that your client was using the legal process to harass and embarrass the district attorney, and I'm quoting here, she said in her filing that doing so was obstructing and interfering with an ongoing criminal prosecution. What did you make of that when you read it in her filing?
I was astounded that she would make that type of assertion against an individual, another member of the bar. I understand intellectually what she was trying to do, but I don't take too kindly to people threatening my clients or myself, and that's what it felt like to me. It went too far.
You took it as a threat of criminal prosecution.
Correct. That if we proceeded with this deposition, that we would be prosecuted criminally for it. That's how I took it.
Did you raised that concern in a response filing of your own? Did you ever hear a response from DA Willis about that? Let's talk about the subpoena specifically. You wrote in a motion, and this is where we have to peel back a little bit from the legalese as best we can, although, we'll hash it all out. But we want to be sort of as...
Can you imagine going through a divorce and the woman that your husband is cheating with is the district attorney, and just because you are asking for documents that you should have received in discovery, just a normal process in the divorce process, that you would be threatened with a criminal offense, prison? Can you imagine that? Unbelievable.
As clear about all of this as we can, because there's a lot of motions and counter motions, and
Oh, yes.
And that's the nature of these things. But you wrote in one of your motions in support of the subpoena to get DA Willis to sit for that deposition. You wrote that you wanted to depose her to gather information about the nature of the relationship between DA Fani Willis and Nathan Wade. And in that filing, you wrote that it was your belief that the two of them were engaged in a romantic relationship.
Correct.
What kind of proof do you have to support the notion that Mr. Wade and DA Willis were engaged in a romantic relationship?
So let me say one thing about the subpoena. When we first issued the subpoena, we didn't list the reason for the deposition, and we did that on purpose. It was only after her filing that, when she demanded to know why we were going to ask her questions, that we reissued the subpoena with that information on it. I just want that out there. But we received documents, like I said, I did the, sorry, I'm jumping around. I did the open records request. This was late fall. And once I received those documents, I issued a formal subpoena for evidentiary reasons. And I received those in November. It was shortly, as soon as I received those, we filed a motion for a temporary hearing because I had information about money. I did not have information about a relationship at that point. And it wasn't until we received a handful of documents from Nathan Wade on the Friday before Christmas, December 22nd, that I had information that indicated with a reasonable degree of certainty that there was definitely more than a boss-employee relationship between the two of them.
When you say information, help me understand what that is. Because the natural question of anybody who watches this is going to be, okay, but what was it? So you say you obtained information. What information did you obtain? What proof did that show to you that there was a relationship between DA Willis and Mr. Wade?
I received documents that indicated, as you've seen, that they have traveled together, ostensibly not for business purposes. I can't think of a business reason for them to have gone to Aruba or to Napa Valley. And we've issued subpoenas as a result of those documents that we received from Mr. Wade that have gone further.
When you say gone further, the latest that I've seen in the public record so far are the exhibits attached to your response to the emergency motion seeking to quash the subpoena by DA Willis. There were purported credit card statements in there that showed some flights booked for both Mr. Wade and DA Willis. You say that you've obtained new information that goes further. Can you elaborate on that?
I don't know if I should at this point. Let me answer it this way and tell me. We have issued subpoenas based on specific items contained in those documents, and we've received information back that gives more detail with regards to what we learned in those credit card statements.
Can I actually show you, and maybe you can help me understand the credit card statements better? I have them here. And sometimes I'm a visual learner sometimes.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I noticed is that the credit card statements themselves show flights to San Francisco and Miami, booked
right.
On behalf of passengers named Nathan J. Wade and Fani Willis. But you, in your filing and in our conversation here, have also mentioned trips to Aruba and other places. Can you point to where in these credit card statements those pieces of evidence come up?
I don't think that the Aruba trip is actually in these credit card statements. It was a part of the cruise that they went on, the Royal Caribbean cruise that's in here. They flew in and out of Miami, and from Miami they flew to Aruba.
Okay. And it's your belief that that was a romantic getaway?
Yes.
Did Joycelyn Wade have a sense that, I can take this back for you. Did Joycelyn Wade have a sense that this was happening?
She did not.
One of the things that some folks have asked about, and I want to make sure you have a chance to elaborate on it however you choose. There's a timing question. So the subpoena to DA Willis to testify in the ongoing divorce case came on January 8th of this year. On the same day, a defendant in the ongoing criminal case in Fulton County filed a motion to disqualify DA Willis, also alleging that DA Willis was engaged in a romantic relationship with Nathan Wade. So on the same day, two separate allegations of the same romantic relationship. There are those who've wondered whether you coordinated efforts with anybody who's seeking to disqualify DA Willis from the criminal case in Fulton County. To those people, what would you say?
I would say absolutely not. We didn't know about a potential romantic relationship between Nathan Wade and Fani Willis until immediately before Christmas. When we came back after the first of the year, we prepared and issued the subpoena. We were actually trying to serve her the week before, and we were not able to perfect service. We finally perfected service on the 8th, which I understand. I've learned since that, because this question has been asked of me, that apparently that was a deadline in the criminal case for filing motions. I had no idea about that. There certainly was no coordinated effort. What I can say is that adultery is not only a grounds for divorce in Georgia, but it's also a factor that the court considers in equitable division of property. So as soon as I received information indicating this potential relationship, I went after it. As for other people and the timing of when they did, what they were looking at, and where they got their information, I can't speak to that.
A total coincidence.
I don't generally believe in coincidences, but in this case, it literally happened on the same day.
How has this case impacted Joycelyn?
So Joycelyn she is an incredible woman. She's kind, she's sweet. She has some health issues that have gone untreated because she has not had access to resources to take care of herself. And needless to say, in the last few weeks, as all of this has gone on, it's taken a definite toll on her. She's definitely struggling.
I know the terms of the consent order have not been made public. Is Joycelyn satisfied with the current outcome of the case? And that's a strange phrasing to say current outcome, but this is not a final disposition.
Correct.
Is she satisfied with where things stand now?
I think that I can, without revealing any confidences, say that yes, she's very pleased with where things stand at the moment.
Can you share anything about the terms of the current agreement?
Beyond the fact that we established temporary support and that Mr. Wade is paying attorney's fees and litigation expenses, I can't.
Do you have a sense of when a final disposition will be reached in this case? It's been a 2-year-long process now.
Nathan Wade has a list of documents that he has to get to us. And after we receive those documents, we are going to try to mediate the case within 45 days. And if we are not successful, then we will proceed to the next phase of litigation.
I want to circle back to kind of where we started here. As you jogged something in my mind there when you mentioned kind of the 45-day time frame. Mm-hmm. As of this point, DA Fani Willis has not given sworn testimony in the divorce case, correct?
Correct.
The most current order on the matter is a stay from the judge in this case.
Yes.
Do you foresee a scenario in the future where you would renew your efforts to get the district attorney to testify?
I do foresee a scenario in which I would renew those efforts.
What would that look like? What would require you to get to that point?
So the next step, the judge wants to hear testimony from Nathan Wade. The next step, if the efforts in the next 45 days or so are not successful, would be to depose Mr. Wade. And depending on the answers that I get in that deposition, I would then make a determination as to whether or not to proceed with revisiting the issue of the deposition of DA Willis.
You say depending on the answers you would get in that potential deposition, because again, if the 45-day mediation works out, there will be no need for that, correct?
Correct.
If you do get to a point where you pursue testimony from Mr. Wade, what information from his deposition would lead you to then seek more testimony from the district attorney?
Oh, I have a lot of questions for Mr. Wade about his relationship with DA Willis, and more specifically, how he has dissipated assets as a result of that relationship. That's very relevant to what we need to deal with in the divorce case. There's a reason that I subpoenaed DA Willis before taking or trying to take Nathan Wade's deposition. And the reason that I did it in the first place is the reason that I think I'll need to, ultimately.
And what is that reason?
Nathan Wade has not been forthcoming in this case. And we have jumped through hoops of fire to obtain the most basic information from him. Sometimes he has been, in my view, outright deceptive. And other times he's just playing games with information. And I wanted to go to a source that I had a more reasonable belief might possibly tell the truth.
I want to end with two final questions for you. And I guess let's start with this one. Why, this is your first sit-down interview on this matter. I know you've spoken on the courthouse steps. I saw that interview. But this is the first time you're sitting down and having an extended conversation about this case. Why talk about it now?
I think that there's a lot of misunderstanding out there on many levels with regards to this case. What's going on now, what can be expected in the near future, even so far as there's a misunderstanding as to what the agreement yesterday was. And so it's important to me that the facts are clear and that the record is clear, not to talk in legalese.
And speaking of legalese, I want to circle back to sort of the core component here one more time, just so it's crystal clear where your perspective is, because it has been a complex case. It's a long case. It's a big docket. Even for folks who are in the profession, I think they would say that this is a complex matter with a lot to try.
And in my opinion, since I'm not an attorney or a lawyer, the complexity of the problem is deceit and a person not willing to cooperate. You only have issues when you're at odds with one another. If you can come together and agree, then of course you have no issues. But when you have one party that's deceitful and filing every motion they can to keep you from knowing, I don't know if you guys heard her when she said this, but by the time he had filed for divorce on November the 2nd, 2021, on November the 3rd, he had her served, and before Christmas, the Friday before Christmas, is when they found out about him sealing the records. So this man has been playing hardball with a woman that he said that he loved for 26 years. Also, it needs to be understood that when they were testifying, and especially at the end, that last time that Terrence Bradley testified, I don't know if you guys watched that, very painstaking, but you should watch that because information came out in those texts that he told about Sonia, I believe her name, Allen, was a woman that he dated before he dated Fani. And Sonia works in her office. And so those are some of the people that the defense wanted to subpoena to come to court, but Ms. Cross was able to get them out of it. So you can see, and we all know that we're presumed innocent until found guilty in a court of law, but you can see, we don't have to know the operations of their minds because we can see the operation of their behavior, that this was a calculated plan. Everything they've done, from taking on the case that they brought against former President Trump on up to what they're doing now to hide what they're doing. And I think people get it twisted. You don't have to stand for either one of the sides to stand for right, because right stand alone. Truth has no versions. It is what it is. And we know, just listening to all that has transpired, that something just ain't right. We know that. And we all excuse the behavior of the people that we like. So we understand when people want to tell us about the go along, get along. We all do it at some point in life with somebody we care about until we stop. Because there is a line of demarcation that must be drawn no matter who you're dealing with. That's how mothers are able to let her babies go. She has to realize at some point in life that they have to get out and walk without her. The same with the father. That's why we're there to equip them to be able to handle what the world is going to bring. Unfortunately for us, we do it far too soon. Before our children's mind is fully developed, we're throwing them out the house. We're not the animals. We should look to the animals and see how their societies run. They are matriarchal. And our women have gone wild. It is something wrong with women in power who think that they don't need a man, yet they pay for one. Something's wrong with that. And it's not just happening in Atlanta. It's happening all over. I put some people down in my description I would like for you guys to check them out. They are much, much, much bigger channels than mine, but I like their subject matters. And Sam is on this case, and Pink Book, I really like her because she calls them city girls. And these city girls are gone wild. They have positions. They misuse their power. And we are very powerful in our own right. Whether we have a position or not, we're powerful just in our homes and in our communities. People listen to us. They respect us. They may not do that on the internet. I found that out too soon. Yeah, they may bully you and harass you and stalk you and call you all kind of ungodly names on the internet, but you know in your everyday life what you mean to the people that you mean something to. And most of them are strangers. So let me just get back. I just had to put my little 2 cents in right there because it's really disheartening to see this, play out in public.
Track. The biggest question that surrounded all of this has been proof, has been how do you prove these allegations? And these are serious allegations, that there is a romantic relationship between an elected official and somebody involved in both a long-term divorce case and a very high-profile prosecution. So I just want to put it to you one more time as clearly as possible. What proof do you have to support the allegation that DA Fani Willis and Nathan Wade had a romantic relationship?
I'm not trying to be slick. I have documentary evidence that suggests to me that they absolutely are engaging in a romantic relationship. And I wouldn't be pursuing this line of question, this avenue of investigation, if I wasn't reasonably certain of that fact.
I noticed the tense you use there is are engaged. In your view, this is an ongoing, current relationship.
Yes.
I always say last question, but then something comes up, so I just want to...
We do it in court, too.
I know, well, you want to make sure, it's important to us that you have every opportunity to respond to anything and everything.
Right.
It comes down to a fairness issue. And so you mentioned you wouldn't be pursuing this line of questioning if you weren't reasonably certain of this. There are those who have said that, why does this matter? It's tawdry, it's salacious. Why does this matter? Why does a potential relationship between these two matter to your case? To people who ask that question, what would you say?
I would say what we just discussed a moment ago, that adultery is not only a grounds for divorce in Georgia, it's also a factor for the judge to consider or the court to consider in equitably dividing assets. The fact that it's become salacious, it's always tawdry in every case. The fact that it's salacious, I think, is because of the specific people involved in this case, which obviously we had no control over. But we need to figure out what's going on and really, probably even more importantly, figure out what portion of this estate has been lost as a result of this relationship. And that's where it really becomes relevant.
So it's about the money.
Well, at the end of the day, the judge said it. It's a math problem. And so ultimately, we are going to have to bring it down to numbers. But there are, there are factual issues to discuss. A 26-year marriage, a stay-at-home woman. She worked while he went through law school. The fact that he's having an affair and doing some of the things that he's done before and during this case is highly relevant. And we have to go into that.
You mentioned at times you felt that Nathan Wade was being deceptive, outright deceptive, I think was the language that you used in the efforts to obtain information from him. It seems particularly about financial information. Describe those deceptions. What are the concerns? What are the, what are you looking for and what are you worried is being hidden?
So I'll give a couple of examples. It's all a matter of record. We issued a notice of deposition request for documents to his firm, Wade Bradley Campbell. And we received no response. Nathan Wade was the registered agent for Wade Bradley Campbell. No response. Wade Bradley Campbell was representing Nathan Wade in the beginning of this case. And they were the ones that were putting out these discovery responses that were completely barren of facts and information, basic information. The fact that we had to find out by watching the news, no offense, that what his current job was, it's ridiculous. And we learned it 2 years almost after this case had been going on because he wouldn't disclose it. He knew the information. He has a duty to seasonably supplement his discovery, and he just wouldn't do it. He kept producing the same handful of documents that he knew didn't tell us what we needed to know. And as far as questions, he's answered questions in a way that I do not believe are truthful.
Mr. Wade's been paid, according to public record, hundreds of thousands of dollars for his role as a special prosecutor in the ongoing criminal case against former President Trump and other co-defendants related to allegations of 2020 election interference. Mm-hmm. Are those payments at the core of what information you're seeking? And forgive me to be repetitive on this, but I want to make sure we drill down as much as possible into the core details here. And I don't want to put words in your mouth either, so I want to frame this carefully. But are those payments, are those payment records what you're seeking most of all?
That's a piece of it that we've been seeking. Payment records, tracking the money. You know, they say always follow the money, and that's what we've been trying to do. Follow where it's been going and what accounts it's been going into and where it's ended up. And that has taken a fairly Herculean effort because there's a lot of inconsistency with what's happened with the money.
You feel that there's been an effort to hide how much he's been paid?
In this day and age, it's very difficult for people to hide money, given the technology that we have. But I do know that he has been putting money in places that it would seem to me that he is trying to shield it from discussion in our divorce.
Is there anything I missed that you think is important for people to understand about this case and about your role in it?
Honestly, I know that there are all these questions about coordinating and that sort of thing. I'm here to do a job for Joyce and to protect her. If there's anybody that deserves it, it's her. And we're not connected with the other case. We are seeking similar information about the same people, but for different purposes. And it's important to me that people understand that. I think that Joyce has gotten a lot of criticism for this belief that she's working with others involved in that prosecution, or that we are, and that's just not what's happening.
And that's really sad that people will take part of a story and run with it. But of course, that's the American way. That's what we do. And so none of us are exempt. And you learn that, quickly growing up. It's the same type of behavior that you meet every day. It's just that on the internet, people have the audacity to say things that they wouldn't ordinarily say to your face. And some people probably would. That's why we see on a lot of t-shirts "gone too soon" and things of that nature, because some people are actually that way. But one of the things, there's a lady and she's called Standard of Truth, and I have her link in the description I would love for you guys to check her out. And once again, she's a big channel. And she comes from a Christian perspective. So if you profess to be a Christian, you would definitely enjoy her work. How you doing, sissy? Good to see you. Glad you made it. But I wish you guys, especially if you profess to be a Christian, to check her out, because what she's been really talking about lately is she is, Regina, I said that earlier, she's talking about the church and the role that they are playing in this craziness in Atlanta. And I don't know, perhaps churches all over are saying something, or the ones who are blackety black. I don't understand that, but hey, it's not for me to understand. What I do know is it's a sin and a shame. You know, one of the things that the defense is fighting for is you don't necessarily have to prove a conflict. You can prove the appearance of a conflict. Now, you have to know that the law comes from some authority, and what authority would that be? Perhaps the authority would be what we call the incarnate word of God, which is questionable by some, and you have your own beliefs and deal with your belief system. But one of the scriptures that we know that they're talking about when they say that, because they say it doesn't necessarily have to be a conflict. It's the appearance of a conflict. And that's one of the ethical principles that government workers are held to, that standard. And 1 Thessalonians 5:22 through 23, the King James Version, which is the version that I normally read when I read the Songbook, known as the Holy Bible. Abstain from all appearance of evil, and the very God of peace sanctify you wholly. And I pray God your whole spirit and soul and body be preserved blameless until the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. And we've heard that lady get in the pulpit. I showed it in the last 2 videos that I've done. We've seen them. She got up there and lied. I mean, she actually told, as the little kids would say, a fib, inaccurate information. She got up there and stated that she paid all of those people equally, yet they only came after the black man. That was to invoke race. And normally we get that invoked upon us without us saying anything about race. Just wanting to be human, we get accused of the race card. But this lady invoked it herself when she was not being honest. She did not pay them all the same. She still has not paid them all the same. And the specialist on RICO got paid the less. And people need to know that before they start pulling for a sister and saying that they just coming after her because that's not true. It is not. And we have enough division. So if we're going to stand, we need to stand for right. I was taught as a kid, you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Monkey Station says, Malachi 2:14, yet ye say, wherefore? Because the Lord hath been witness between thee and the wife of thy youth, against whom thou hast dealt treacherously. Yet is she thy companion, and the wife of thy... Okay, is she thy companion, and the wife of thy covenant? I am Old Testament only. Yes, she bear false witness. Yes, she did. And whatever testament, if you're proclaiming truth, it is well. If you don't know a testament, for me, it is well. That is an individual choice. And I don't have anywhere for anybody to go. I'm a person who has learned some things in my 65 years. And I'm all right. As long as you don't harm me and I don't harm you, it is well with me. And I would like that for everybody, because that's the common law. No harm, no foul. And unfortunately, we harm people every day by the words of our testimony. Some of us do some foul things. So that was the interview that I wanted people to really see, so they can kind of get an idea of who Joycelyn Wade is. It's just a woman who had problems in her marriage, and she thought they were working on them. Unfortunately, she was blindsided. November the 2nd, 2021. And then we have churches in Atlanta giving her awards. The woman, that's the other woman that came between a man and his wife, even if they were having issues. But from what it sounds, she could have been a part of the issues, because the relationship started, according to Miss Yurty, who I believe back when they met in 2019. They can tell whatever story they want. And then they said that the judge can, let them stay on the case or remove them. But if he does not remove them, then it begs to question his integrity and honor. Because he's not doing this for himself. He's doing this for the sake of the oath that he took. And all of them took an oath to uphold the Constitution. All of them. Yeah, so Alicia, it is horrible. And thank you for greeting everyone. We truly appreciate you guys. So the next thing I wanted to show you guys was the actual hearing, so you all can see what they were up against when they were trying to get the records unsealed. We'll know a little bit about that. I like the way this judge handled everything, and he was busy, but he took time out to hear this so that he could make a decision. So both sides won a little bit. And one of the outcomes was that they did make a settlement. So they made that settlement, in my opinion, is that a good to see you? So that they didn't have to be deposed, because they didn't want to be deposed. And we'll hear what the judge has to say about it. But I thought this was interesting, because it's kind of good when you know a little bit about both sides. Then you can kind of make an informed decision. Or, you can have something to talk about that makes sense. Like I said, I don't judge people, but I talk about them good, bad, or indifferent. And so when you kind of know both sides, then you can kind of weigh it and use your own discernment and your own logic and common sense that's common to all men. So let's hear this hearing And she is absolutely gorgeous on these pictures. And I don't know if you guys have heard it, but her attorney said that she has some health issues and she's not doing too well. I'm sure emotionally, having to deal with her own body and then deal with the public at large being very ugly and ruthless, making all type of comments. Here we go.
Court is now in session. Dr. Judge Henry R. Thompson is presiding.
Thank you. Be seated. All right. Ms. Hastings?
Yes, sir. Mr. Clyde, Your Honor, I am actually here on the second set of motions, the motions for access to the file, to unseal the file.
Where's Mr. Kimbrough?
Very good.
Oh, why don't you take that table?
Your Honor, with your permission, I'm going to just sit off here.
That's fine. And Ms. Merchant?
Good morning, Judge.
Good morning. And I'm sorry?
I'm here as well for the second.
Right. Why don't you come on up to the table as well? There's a chair for you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Axum.
Yes, good morning, Judge.
All right. Okay. Who wants to share in the takedown of this? Mr. Kimbrough?
Yes, Judge, we'll share.
Ms. Hastings? Ms. Merchant?
We'll share, yes.
Okay.
We will as well, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you.
How about you, Mr. Axum? You want to share in the takedown?
Absolutely.
All right. Okay. This is Wade versus Wade. Civil action number 21-108166. And Mr. Wade is represented by Mr. Scott Kimbrough. Mrs. Wade is represented by Andrea Hastings. And we're here today for basically an emergency motion filed by Mr. Axum by a non-party deponent for a protective order. But there was already a pending motion to unseal the record filed by Ms. Merchant. I thought we might as well take that up at the same time. Now, this is my criminal jury trial week. I'm trying to start jury selection on a criminal trial, so we don't have a lot of time. All right, Ms. Merchant, I'll hear from you on your motion to unseal.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Judge. Would you like me to podium?
Wherever you like.
Okay, thank you. I will be brief, Judge. Thank you. Judge, Rule 24 says that there's a very specific process that has to be followed for an order sealing a record. It wasn't followed in this case. It was assigned to a previous judge, Judge Angela Brown, who entered a consent order under Rule 21, granting the seal in this case. It's our understanding from emails with counsel that Mrs. Wade's lawyers do not object to that seal order being lifted. I believe Mr. Wade's lawyers do, but we believe that it should be reversed and should be lifted because it was held without a hearing. It was held, as far as I understand, without a motion, and I can't guarantee that because I don't have access to those earlier records in the case because they are sealed. But it appears it was held, it was filed without an actual court hearing where the public was allowed to be present, and so that's in violation of Rule 21. There's very specific and stringent processes that the court must follow before a record is withheld from the public, and they were not followed in this case, Judge. The first is the motion, the second is a hearing, the third is that whoever wants it sealed has to identify specific parts of the court's file that need to be sealed. Also has to delineate the nature and the duration of the seal. None of that was done in this case. And the fourth, which is the most important part of it, is the analysis that the court has to do. And what the law says in the seminal case is Atlanta Journal versus Long, which we cited in our motion, that an order limiting access shall not be granted except upon a finding of harm otherwise resulting to the privacy of the person in interest, and that harm clearly outweighs the public interest. In this case, Judge, there's been no allegations of harm that clearly outweigh the public interest. And so the first thing to consider is whether or not that order needs to be reversed. And it's our position that it does because it doesn't follow the law. Second, getting to whether or not an order should actually be entered now sealing this, we do not believe that an order should be sealed.
Has anyone filed one?
No one has filed one. So if you reverse the order at that point, if someone files it, then we can litigate that. But just focusing on the reversal of the prior order, Judge, I think the law is clear that it should be reversed because none of those findings were made and the public didn't have an opportunity to be heard in that instance. And so that's in violation of the law. And there's a couple different cases, I won't belabor the point, but all of the cases on this issue hold if there wasn't a hearing, it's got to be reversed. And so we think that order should be vacated. I've prepared a proposed order unsealing that if the court is so inclined. And then if there is some type of a motion filed or an oral motion today to try and seal those records, if you are inclined to reverse, I'd like a chance to at least be heard on that as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Hastings, what's your position?
Your position, Your Honor. My position is that we did consent to the sealing at the beginning of the case. There was a motion filed by the plaintiff on November 18th, 2021, approximately 16 days after we filed this. We consented at the time. We have different information now. We also understand that there was no hearing conducted, so we have no objection.
Mr. Kimbrough.
Thank you, Judge. These parties did consent to this the previous consent order sealing the record back in February of 2022. Judge, the divorce was filed November 2nd of 2021. Answer was filed on November 30th of 2021, and this consent order sealing the record was filed on February 10th of 2022. Judge, it's clear that what the parties' intent was at that time, and that was to protect their privacy. As such, a consent order was drafted between the attorneys who were involved at that time, of Ms. Hastings and her team were involved at that time. I was not. Did not get involved in this case until toward the end of last year. But that consent order was drafted and presented to the court, and it was signed and filed. And Judge, this court has a burden to determine what is in the best interest of these parties and what's in the best interest of this case. The law is pretty clear as far as this issue is concerned. Under the Atlanta Journal versus Long, 258 Georgia 410, it sets forth the purpose of Rule 21, which is the reason why we're here, dealing with access or limited access to court files. The purpose is, one, to protect the public right to access, which is a long-standing and traditional right, but also, Judge, that case holds that it is also to protect another traditional right, and that is the right of superior courts in exceptional cases to shield these records from public view. And the court has to weigh that. As far as this situation is concerned,
I just want to say for the record, you see, when he had to go to real court, he didn't have his friend. Of course, you know they're not friends anymore. But if you notice, what they said is when the attorney was giving her interview earlier, she said that they were saying that Bradley, Campbell, and Wade was representing him. I want to know, how is it that they kept Campbell out of this whole debacle? Because there's something there, and I don't know what it is. Excuse me. Now, I do know that Bradley said that Chris Campbell would not tell, but he knows. He will not tell. And just so happened, there's still two that are partners, they say, but they don't have a partnership. They just work in the same office. And another thing that the DA told another big fib about, out and out lie actually, was that they used to have contracts with her office. They don't anymore. But that is not true. Chris Campbell still has, so I understand from the testimony, Chris Campbell still has a contract with her office, which Nathan Wade is getting half of. Okay, that's why this stuff is very important. And it started to intertwine because he's hiding assets and income. And so it had nothing to do with his wife teaming up with the other side. She's fighting for her livelihood. And he's just trying to dismiss her as if she doesn't exist. So that's something we need to keep in mind. Okay. But he didn't go get a brother man this time, as we can see. And this judge doesn't seem to be playing.
The current status of this situation, this is January 8th of this year, clearly shows the harm that is done to these parties, and clearly gives credence to what the parties' intentions were back in February of 2022 when they entered into this agreement to seal. And we think that that it is proper for the case to remain under seal. Now, again, I was not involved back in 2022 in this matter. It is my understanding there was not a hearing that was done. It was just a consent order that was prepared and presented to the court, not this court, but prepared and presented to the court, and that order was signed off on and filed. And so we think that if this court does, based upon those facts, unseal this record, that this court should also consider putting in protections for the parties' private information pursuant to 911.7.1, which allows this court to do that. Thank you, Judge.
Your Honor, our motion is very similar.
I understand. Thank you. All right. I find that the prior order, although it was by consent of parties, was not properly entered because the Uniform Superior Court rules require a hearing to be had. We can find no evidence that any such hearing was ever had, so I'm going to grant the motion vacating the consent order, sealing the record. And I'll do that today. I'll have your written order. Ms. Merchant, unless you have something else, you're excused.
I do not. Thank you so much, Judge.
That case go on. Thank you.
Yes. Well done, Counselor. Now we have Mr. Axsom's motion by a non-party deponent for a protective order. Mr. Axsom and Ms. Hastings has filed a response to that. Before we get started, Mr. Axsom, Ms. Hastings, I'll go ahead and tell you both. I've read the pleadings, so you don't have to read them back to me, okay, in making your arguments. Mr. Axsom, if you would, sir, I just need for you to focus your argument today on subsection 1 of your motion for protective order, if you don't mind. So you may proceed, Mr. Axsom.
Okay, thank you, Judge. Give me 1 second. All right. Your Honor, I know that you are asking me, and I will be brief, to focus on subsection 1. I think there's some low-hanging fruit that I don't know if it's come up. I don't know if the court had the opportunity to examine it. But before we get to subsection 1, I really do apologize. I would like to handle the issue as to whether the two subpoenas that have been served are defective.
Well, we don't need to reach that yet, Mr. Axum. If you'll focus your argument on subsection 1 and tell me why the protective order should be granted. If it is granted, then we don't really need to reach the subpoena argument. So like I said, press for time. This is my criminal jury trial week. Just argue subsection 1.
I sure will. All right, so dealing with subsection 1, Your Honor, which deals with 26.1. Specifically, my argument hinges on the pleadings. Now, I have not seen the pleadings, but based on the argument that I put forward, this is an uncontested, it's a no-fault divorce, and based on that, both parties have alleged that it's irretrievably broken. And because they've alleged that, and the pleadings as they stand deal specifically with whether the arguments, hang on one second, let me hold that up. All right. The response in the plaintiff's pleadings alleges that it is permissible to bring up issues regarding the conduct of the parties. But I believe the pleadings are the things that set the boundaries. So in this case, a no-fault discovery alleging adultery is not relevant. The defendant brings up in the response that the plaintiff did not tell the defendant he was separated. The plaintiff did not comply with discovery until the motion was actually filed. The plaintiff may have used marital funds for the trip, but every one of those issues involves the plaintiff's actions during the divorce. Had nothing to do with Ms. Willis. The issue before the court, if it's a no-fault divorce, and it's irretrievably broken, is how do you divide the marital assets? And that is the issue that was brought up in the response. So specifically, we're dealing with equitable division of the marital estate, the dissipation of the marital assets, and the plaintiff's capacity to provide spousal support. So those three things are the things that the court has to deal with. All of those things sit squarely with the plaintiff. Ms. Willis does not share any accounts with him. D.A. Willis does not determine what he spends his money on, no matter where it comes from. So the issue is, if it's a no fault, and it's irretrievably broken, and the pleadings dictate the boundaries of the case, it's not relevant as to fault. It's not relevant as to the conduct of the parties. So that's essentially my argument with regard to the irretrievably broken in 26.1. I believe 26.1 protects, because this District Attorney Fani Willis is an officer as it is defined in 26.1. So it protects her. And according to 26.1b, there are two requirements that have to be met. The officer has to be high ranking, and I don't think that's in dispute. When you look at Ms. Willis and the demands on her office, Ms. Willis, as the Fulton County Office of the District Attorneys, the only way I can put this in context.
In my opinion, that should be abuse of office. You have to be high ranking to have an affair and it not mean anything to anybody, an affair that you kept quote unquote private, not secret, that's abuse of office. And I just don't believe that statute was written for a person to be committing adultery. Perhaps I'm wrong. I'm no attorney, but let's listen to see what the judge has to say.
Is to give you some background on that. She manages a staff of 360 plus lawyers and staff. She oversees cases right now, 20,000 open cases. She coordinates on a monthly basis at least 500 or more cases for indictment. So in this case, of course, the most recognizable issue is that she's dealing with, over in Fulton County, the election interference case involving former President Trump.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Axon, let me interrupt you. Let me
Yes.
ask you just to focus on the part of the law that says the proposed opponent lacks unique personal knowledge of any matter that's relevant. Are you saying that your client lacks unique personal knowledge that could not be discovered some other way?
I would argue that she does, that the knowledge that she may or may not have is not unique. You've got two parties in the case, one who is alleged to have some extramarital affair with Ms. Willis. If that is the case, if that is true, he has that information. We've been at this case, well, I have, but 783 days. And on day 776, somewhere in there, we get this notice of deposition. So to focus on that part of the statute, no. I think there are other means by which that information can be retrieved in this case.
All right, thank you, Mr. Axon. Ms. Hastings? Wherever.
Your Honor, I think that you honed in on exactly what the issue is here today, naturally. The face of her pleading shows that she has unique knowledge with regards to this case. She could have filed a motion for protective order alleging all of the legal grounds for which she would like to not have to sit for a deposition, and she believes she's protected. But she didn't stop there. She went further. She asserted in her pleading, her motion for protective order to prevent herself from sitting for a deposition, that she knows the cause of the separation of these people. She knows detailed facts, allegedly, about their relationship, and albeit we'll deal with the falsity of those at a different hearing. That's what she said. She said it in her pleading. So on its face, her argument fails that she does not have unique knowledge with regards to the party's marriage and this situation. Beyond that, Your Honor, I would turn the court, obviously, to 911-26C and Ewing versus Ewing, which clearly states a party seeking a protective order with regards to discovery, when a party does, the trial court may make an order which justice requires to protect the party or person from annoyance, harassment, oppression, etc. However, protective orders should not be awarded when the effect is to frustrate and prevent legitimate discovery. Furthermore, the Georgia Court of Appeals has held that protective orders are intended to be protective, not prohibitive. And that's exactly what DA Willis is seeking to do in this case. She's not seeking protection, she's seeking prohibition of our ability to access facts. I can state as an officer of the court in my place here today that the first time in the 783 days that this case has been pending, the first time that I heard that the alleged cause of the separation was some false claim with regards to my client in 2017 was in her pleading. So I have questions, and that's just the beginning of it. Furthermore, Your Honor, the black letter law in the state is that in divorce cases, in which equitable division of property is at issue, the conduct of the parties, including evidence of the spouse's alleged adultery, is relevant and admissible. We don't have to plead adultery in the initial petition. But we also have the ability under OCGA 91115 to amend the pleadings anytime up until the entry of a pretrial order. We have the right, regardless of whether or not the grounds for divorce alleged in the petition is that the marriage is irretrievably broken, to discover information with regards to adultery. We have questions. I want to know about how he's been spending his money. I have a reason to believe he's spending it on another woman. That's my client's money. And I want to ask questions about that. She's trying to hide under the shield of her position improperly, I would suggest, Your Honor. There's a couple things that are improper about it. First of all, and I'd like for the court to clarify this, there's no doubt that she's busy. She has one of the most active district attorney offices in the state. However, as Mr. Axum cited under 911-26.1, D2, if you look at that, it says the person seeking the protective order had unique personal knowledge of one or more matters relevant to the subject matter. We know she did. She put it in her pleading. We also know that she did because although she asserted falsehoods in her pleading, we asserted facts in our response. And those facts, even the ones we've just shown, clearly demonstrate that she's got some unique personal knowledge in this case. But more than that, we're not seeking her deposition as the district attorney of Fulton County. We're seeking her deposition in her individual capacity as the alleged paramour of my client's husband. So whatever her job is has nothing to do with whether or not she should have to sit for this deposition. I'm sure that it's inconvenient. It's inconvenient for all of us. However, I have questions, and she needs to answer them. I want to bring one other matter to the court's attention with regards to her position that I think has not been highlighted in this. With regards to her position, in her motion, page 9, top of the page, she stated unequivocally, D.A. Willis stated, that if we pursue this subpoena, we are obstructing justice.
Yeah, you know, Ms. Hastings, that's why I told Mr. Axum to stay away from that.
Got it.
I don't think I want to hear that today.
Got it. Okay. Then, Your Honor, that is our argument with regards to the propriety. It's clear that she has relevant information.
Okay, Ms. Hastings, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the over 2 years this case has been pending, we have yet to hold an evidentiary hearing where we heard testimony of either party. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
We've been up to now dealing with discovery disputes.
Yes,
Correct?
Your Honor.
Okay. And neither party has been deposed.
Correct.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kimbrough, you have anything to add?
I do not.
You're sitting this one out?
I do not.
Okay.
We'll take Mr. Clyde's read on that one.
All right. Well, both sides have good points. Ms. Hastings, I agree with. The irretrievably broken does not prohibit you from presenting evidence of adultery if that's relevant to equitable division of the marital estate or marital assets. So I agree with you there. You're not prohibited from getting into that. However, I also agree with Mr. Axum that OCGA 911-26.1 is there for a reason. And the key part to me is whether the proposed opponent lacks unique personal knowledge or has unique personal knowledge of a matter that's relevant to the subject matter. And under D1 of that statute, that the party seeking the deposition has exhausted other reasonable means of discovery and found such discovery to be inadequate. So really, I'm not in a position where I have sufficient information to make a finding either way of whether the proposed opponent has unique knowledge. Because this case is a divorce, and I understand there are children, but they have attained the age of majority. So we don't have to deal with child custody or visitation or child support or who's going to have the final say on medical or educational or religious issues. So that takes out a large portion of what people normally fight over in divorces. It seems to me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that what we have here is a math problem. Equitable division of the marital assets after determining what they actually are, alimony, and attorney's fees. That's a mathematical equation that we need to solve. The solution will be a number, or three numbers, but the numbers will be expressed in dollars and cents. And without Mr. Wade having been deposed yet or given sworn testimony yet, I'll note for the record we have a hearing set for 9 days away where sworn testimony can be presented. Without me knowing what Mr. Wade would say, it seems to me that Mr. Wade would be the first and best source of information on what his income has been and how he's been spending it, and that he would have firsthand knowledge of whether he's engaged in an extramarital affair. Only after I hear what Mr. Wade has to say do I think I can make a determination of whether the proposed opponent has any unique knowledge about these issues. Because once again, this is a math problem, and that we need to find a solution to. So, with all that being said, I'm not prepared, Mr. Axum, to grant your protective order, but since the deposition is set for tomorrow and our first evidentiary hearing is set for the 31st, I will issue a stay. And I will stay the deposition until I'm in a better position to make a determination of whether the proposed opponent would have any unique knowledge, unique being the key word there, that is not possessed by Mr. Wade himself. Now, if there's not anything else, I need to seat a jury in a criminal case. Anything else?
Nothing further.
Thank you, Mr. Axon. Ms. Hastings?
Nothing further.
Mr. Kimbrough?
Nothing further, Judge, thank you.
Y'all can email my court reporter, that'd be sufficient. Email the court reporter about the takedown. Everyone's excused. We're in recess till 1:30.
So that was very easy, and what ended up happening is he agreed after that to, raise the money that she was receiving. Everything that he wouldn't do before, he agreed, because one thing they didn't want to do is to sit for those depositions. And that's why the interrogatories became so important when they were in the Trump case, because he answered falsely to the interrogatories over in the sealed records, I guess, because I don't know when they took the interrogatories, but from the way it sounded, they took it before they sealed these records. So they took it and then they just went in the records as sealed, because they did it in May of 2023. Is when he did it, and he updated them up until January 2024, because the way the interrogatories were written, he just told a bald-faced one each time he answered 4 and 5. Yes, he is a piece of work, Regina. Absolutely a piece of work. And so, like I said earlier when I started out, I went on the internet to look up Jocelyn and information about her, and I got some information from Indian Hase, and that's a staff writer, and this was January 27, 2024, and it comes from her Wikipedia, and then the photos from LinkedIn and Instagram, Facebook. And some of this information is not true, I'm going to say, because they say that they're already divorced. And of course, we know just from the hearing they're not already divorced. And then it says they were married for 12 years as opposed to being married for the 20, almost 6 years that they were married. So I'm going to just read, and I'm not going to put it up. I'm just going to read around the information. And it says, who is Jocelyn Wade? Because some of the things that I believe that are not true, I'm not going to read them. You can go to this place where I went on the internet and, look it up yourself. But one thing we don't have to do when we see something that we believe to be not true, we don't have to continue to repeat it. Now, all of it could not be true. I do not know. But what I do know is that I know is different from the knowledge which I've, actually seen. Then I know I don't have to repeat that. It says, who is Jocelyn Wade? Jocelyn Wade, Joycelyn if you choose, born on June 25th, 1974 in Atlanta, Georgia, has achieved notable success as a wine consultant, entrepreneur, and philanthropist. She is widely acknowledged as the ex-spouse of, get this y'all, Hollywood actor and producer Nathan Wade. Her life is characterized by personal achievements, strong family connections, and a dedication to creating a beneficial influence on society. So he's supposed to have made a movie called The Lost Son, and he's supposed to be from the Hollywood set. Okay, so Jocelyn Wade background and academic training. Jocelyn was raised in a middle-class household by her parents, James and Patricia Wade. She had a younger brother named Jason, who eventually pursued a career in law. Her early enthusiasm for arts and literature prompted her to enroll in Emory University, where she obtained a degree in English literature in 1996. And isn't that something? She went to the same Emory, although I know that lady went to the law school, but she says Emory as it's so prestigious, and she's the only one who attended the school. But Mrs. Wade attended the same school. Regina said, I don't believe Nathan Wade made the movie. If he did, it was his cheating. Huh? Or maybe one of those P movies. He might have made one of those. Begin with P and end with N. He might have made one of those. Or you could say Y if you spell the whole word out. Whichever way you want to pronounce it. Education. Emory University, where I studied English literature and graduated in 1996. The topic of discussion is the family and children of Jocelyn Wade. Jocelyn's family continues to be a fundamental and essential part of her life. She maintains a strong and intimate relationship with her parents and brother, highlighting the significance of familial assistance. Her union with Nathan Wade resulted in the birth of 2 offsprings, both of whom have subsequently gone on their individual paths. The daughter is currently pursuing a degree in political science at Harvard University, while the son is thriving in both academic and athletic endeavors at Brentwood School. And they give a little bit of her biography. Jocelyn Wade, personal information, age, astrological sign, and physical characteristics, who is currently 49 years old. And of course, we know the date of birth is June 25th, 1974. Place of birth, Atlanta, Georgia. Astrological sign is Cancer. Racial or cultural background, they have African American, refers to individuals of African descent who are citizens or residents of the United States, who are indigenous to this land. who are Asiatic, and some call Indian, some call Cherokee, some call Apache, some call a lot of different things. But that's where she's from, this land. Her United States faith is unidentified. Acquiring knowledge and skills through formal learning process, Emory University, where she studied English literature in the year of 1996. She has a height of 5'8" and a weight of 117 pounds. Her complexion is fair and brown eyes. Her measurements are 34 inches for the bust, 32 inches for the waist, and 35 inches for the hips. Footwear is a size 8, United States. And you know, it all could not be true, but they have this on several different articles that I put together. So I can go with that, Regina. And this is what they say about Jocelyn Wade, romantic relationships and legal union of two individuals. Jocelyn Wade's legal disputes and marital dissolution. And that's why I can agree with you, because like I said, they said that the marriage was already over, but we know that he didn't file for a divorce until 2021. I think that maybe somebody just wrote a beautiful fairy tale. Maybe... Okay, this might have a little truth in it. Darn, wait a minute. How do they know how weight, shoe size, bust size? Too much information. Why am I thinking about HIPAA? Well, I think she was giving this interview. The way it reads, I'm just leaving out certain words and reading it. But the way it reads from what they're saying, she's the one doing the talking. So now that might be true, that might not be true, child. We don't know. Because from what they said about this man's money, he's supposed to have so much money and so does she. But it says Jocelyn Wade legal summons and dispute. Jocelyn's life took an unexpected legal turn when she issued a subpoena to Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis during their divorce dispute. The motion claimed an inappropriate association between Willis and Nathan Wade, with allegations of benefiting from the Trump prosecution. Willis and Nathan Wade adamantly refuted the accusations, categorizing them as unfounded and desperate ploys to divert attention from the ongoing legal issues. It goes on to say, Jocelyn Wade's career encompasses her role as a wine consultant and a philanthropist. Extending beyond her personal life, she has established herself as a prosperous wine consultant, serving as the creator and CEO of Pure Vines Fresh Wines. The business provides customized suggestions, samplings, gatherings, and informative materials, appealing to a wide range of customers, including famous individuals and companies. Joycelyn is not satisfied with her own achievements. She is a committed philanthropist. The primary objective of her charity, the Jocelyn Wade Charity, is to provide scholarships, books, and resources to kids and schools that are economically disadvantaged. Joycelyn is a fervent proponent of education, literacy, women's empowerment, environmental conservation, and animal welfare, and she actively lends her support to these causes. Jocelyn Wade's accomplishment and honors. Jocelyn's contributions have been duly acknowledged. She has been honored and multiple accolades, such as the Wine Enthusiast Wine Star Award, Forbes Women of the Year Award, and the Emory University Distinguished Alumni Award. Published in 2020, her book titled The Joy of Wine, A Guide to Discovering and Enjoying Wine, achieved bestseller status. So that's what they have now. Whether that's true or whether that's false, I don't know. In conclusion, Jocelyn Wade's life is characterized by a rich combination of achievements, difficulties, and an unwavering dedication to creating a beneficial influence on the world. From her first aspirations of being a writer to successfully navigating the intricacies of Hollywood and philanthropy, she serves a living example of resilience, persistence, and the lasting influence of personal development. Jocelyn's ongoing journey serves as a source of inspiration for several individuals, demonstrating the diverse and fulfilling aspects of a successful life. And there you have it. So, we've learned about Jocelyn. We've learned about Nathan and his antics and how he fought so hard to keep his information coming to the forefront. So again, this story that's going on with him and the DA is just the beginning of their end, in all honesty. It's what it looks like. Whether the judge, take them off the case or dismiss them, I don't see how anybody could ever trust them to do anything in public office. And because, they like to make example out of people, it's just very hard to believe that they would allow this type of buffoonery to go on and allow them to stay in the position. You just heard the attorney tell how many cases that this lady is over. And one of the things I've learned since I've been researching about this, in Fulton County, they have individuals that's been locked up for years who's never had their speedy trial. And that's against the Constitution for the United States. Hi, Charlene Edwards. Fani told the court her dad taught her to always keep cash at home, but he didn't teach her to leave people's that's a good one. I like that. Oh, that story is just something to say. Because you know what? It is really embarrassing for these people to talk about it's a black thing to keep money at home when most of us don't have no money. Most of us. Now, I'm not saying all. I'm just saying most of us. And I know in any hood in America don't have no money. We living from paycheck to paycheck, credit card to credit card. We still don't know that if they'd have taught us the right way how to use credit, we could be living the lifestyles of the rich and famous. Because I'm sure at some point, and everybody who didn't learn the correct way to use credit, I'm sure that they, received all kind of bank cards. We're taught to use debit cards. People that actually have something don't use debit cards. What they do is put everything on their credit cards. And then let's say your light bill, bills that you're going to pay every month. They put it on their credit card and pay it every month. That builds credit and it clears out your balance. We're pretty much in the hood taught to live off the credit. So we go and get Jack in the Box and, an ice cream bar, or we go get a package of cigarettes. That's me. You go, get your soda, and then you, for 20 years, paying interest on a soda that you could have, paid for right then and there. Peter say, you talking about op. Yep, you know me. OPP. Other people property. Let me see. Jackie Johnson, DA, who covered up the... yes. Is it? Yeah, a lot of those women in Georgia have some real weird way of thinking. They really think that this is honorable and this woman is the Southern Belle of Georgia. But if this is what they see as the Southern Belle, I can really see why people disrespect them and treat them, like the weirdos that they are. Because I know every woman in Georgia do not think like that. Because the lady I was telling you guys about, Standard of Truth, she's from Georgia. And no, she's not with any of this. Now, she may be a different kind of Georgian. Maybe one that you wouldn't like either. She said a lot of people don't like her kind. Well, welcome to the club. People have a right to like us or they don't like us. And a lot of times they don't. And especially if you're not talking about tomfoolery and buffoonery. Because I find that our people like, to get down in the mess. And you could say that's true about all people because we all are people. And I would say that that's true about all people. But when I speak from my experience being who I am. And so that's why I always, defer or refer, however you want to use it, to us as a people. Because I know us like no other. Regina said exactly why the hands of justice turn very slowly. Some people are too busy paying for D and or other people's husbands. Too busy trying to plan and cover sometimes. And that's what it is. And they always tell us the cover-up is always worse than the actual act of whatever you did wrong. It's best. I was expecting for that lady, and I don't know why I was expecting this, but, when she was going to the churches, I was hoping that she would do something like this, and I cannot sing it in the key that he sang it, but I need to tell y'all a story. My ex-husband, my second ex-husband, was a drug addict, and one time he came home and he put this song in the cassette player. That's how long ago it's been that we were together. And I heard this song. And when I heard the words, I'm like, oh man, he had that song done just for me. Because I thought it was really for me. But when I heard the words to that song, and when I heard who he was singing to, I got mad all over. And it wasn't because of who he was singing to. It was because it wasn't sung to me. And who sang the song so beautifully was one of my favorite contemporary gospel singers, Mr. Fred Hammond. And I thought she would have came, and I don't know the exact words, but I just got to say a little bit of it. How can you forgive me when I've often gone astray? How can you think of me when I do things my way? Turning my back from you the one who loved me first, feeling my own desires, renewing worldly thirst. And what got me when he said, now I am running to you, Jesus, please take me home. Your arms are open wide, and I don't have to cry no more. I'm running back to you. I see you standing there for me. Why did I go astray when I know I am no good, left on my own? Now, I thought she would have sung something like that. Maybe she wouldn't have sung it, but she would have recited it and just, confess not necessarily exactly what it was, but just let them know that I was wrong and I need to do something different. But not this woman. No, she picked another Fred Hammond song. And it's the scripture too, of course. No weapon formed against her shall prosper. And she didn't learn just until the other week. See, she didn't learn this part. They didn't say that the weapons wasn't going to be formed against her. They just said it wasn't going to prosper. Now this woman say she's 53, and she just learned what that meant. And she say she go to church, and they didn't teach her. Her dad didn't teach her that. And she's sending people, children, away for life. Is something wrong with that? Yes, I just thought she would have been singing that song. That's so apropos, in my opinion. Of course, that's just my opinion. Yeah, well, I wish they tell the people that's using the law against us that it's been done away with. They say, I thought I'd come and join you guys before I say good night. As you can see, I cut my hair today. I really don't like it when it starts growing back. But I just wanted to say I thank you guys for joining me. This is really a mess. And no matter if it's a detraction or if it's to make us look at something, maybe it's to make us look at ourselves and see how we value things. You know, all of us who pretend to be upright, I don't know if that's really true. Just the way people have responded to what's going on and the things that they say, and everything is split down. I don't know what lines nowadays. I don't know if it's party lines. I don't know if it's racial lines. I don't know if it's gender lines. I don't know what lines they're split, but we have a division, and we do know the way the enemy conquers is to divide. That's how it's done. I also want to give my condolences. One of my neighborhood friends actually transitioned on yesterday. And we've been living on this street a very long time. We grew up here. And although he has gone on and he was married, and the girl that he married lived on the street, we all grew up together, and they've been married over 40 years beautifully, with 2 children. And his older sister still lives here on the street. And so I just want to offer my humblest condolences to the family. I know that anything you say here, and especially if you name names, there are so many sick people on this app that they will make jokes and talk about it for years. So I'll allow them to make jokes and make up a name. I won't divulge that. But, we're the seniors now, and people are truly leaving, and who knows when we may go. We don't. So we need to try to teach the children everything that we know and tell them about your family and your history. There's so many people that don't know their family history. It's unbelievable. They know a lot of wives' tales and somebody said, but they don't know who that somebody is and what they was talking about. But they know it was something. We got to do better. I think this is an opportunity for us to really, because we were never taught true politics. We were never taught civics. We don't understand history and law has to be studied together in order to have the right concepts. This is an opportunity for us to sit down with our young, and we can learn together if we don't know. It was because I journeyed off 11 years ago to find out who we were before we were slaves that I even have the wherewithal and the reason to be here on YouTube. And although many has tried to run me off, I'm not going anywhere. It doesn't matter if I have one person, 3, 20, or 3,000, because my video the other day actually had 3,000 views and I was ecstatic. Couldn't believe that it had happened. I never hit 3,000 views before. But it doesn't change who I am and the way I do things. I'm going to keep it the way I keep it because I do it for me. But I came to uplift fallen humanity in the best way that I know how. I'm not adept, but I am scholarly and I study to show myself approved, a workman rightly dividing the word of truth. And to be honest, Ronki Station, I don't know what law that was fulfilled because we're being ran by law every day. And more we're losing our rights, our civil liberties. As all Americans, not just us as Asiatic Americans, although it may seem that way, we need to understand hegemony and the definition of the word. It's one group ruling over another. The group does not have to be all the same. It's just a group. We need to understand what's really happening. Overstand and understand. A lot of things we were taught were not correct. And if we try to teach the correct way, they say that we are conspiracy theorists and we're giving out false information, and that's not true. You can actually research. Just like they stood in the courtroom and told the judge the statute that says you must unseal these records because of statute such and such and such. Then he said must be done. Well, it's the same way. If we start researching for ourselves, we take everybody's word for our truth, but our own. And you don't have to believe me. Research for yourself that the landmass at one time was all known as Asia. Asia Major, Asia Minor, Asia Soul. I mean, this is nothing that's new under the sun. And life has so many years ago. And every 100 years, it changes. So by the time we leave here, if we don't leave our children with some of the knowledge that we've acquired, they're not going to be as unfree as we are. They're going to be worse. Because freedom is not free. if it doesn't cost something. And you just take that and put it in your pipe and smoke it. I don't think she will learn to do that, Charlene. I really don't. Yeah, I don't think she'll do that. And thank you so much. I will. I'm going to run on to see what the end going to be. Regina said, I have seen some of the responses on Fani Willis hearing. I have also spoken to some people, and all I can say is phew. Some people don't get it. Also, it's not about race or gender. It's about law. And that's what it's about. And they trying to take it to a whole nother level. And of course, because we don't know anything about law, we allow them to take us to those places. Sister girl, I really wish y'all would look at the Pink Book and look at the city girls. You have the mayor, I believe, in New Orleans, who's zip up the back crazy. And then you have the mayor in Dalton, Illinois. And it's another city that she's the supervisor over. This lady in 2 years ran up a deficit of $7 million. She literally leased an Escalade for $149,000. Leased, when the Escalade itself cost $94,000. She paid $55,000 extra for leasing. And hear me, she only leased it for a year or two. She got it in 22. They're talking about repossessing their police cars and their ambulances and fire trucks because of this lady's spending. She came to a city council meeting in a Nino Brown outfit like she was in New Jack City. She's trying to get herself well known on social media, on IG, on Facebook, on YouTube. This lady is insane. Absolutely asinine. It's really sad, these women, what they're doing, and then we have women who know they couldn't get away with none of this stuff, going around here running, talking about these women are representing us. No, they're not. They're not representing us. We had a judge just got out of prison. Well, she just got out of jail because she hasn't been to prison, but she shot her boyfriend. She shot her boyfriend, and he's the second man that she shot. Then we have a mayor. What did this woman do? Oh, we have a county commissioner right there in Fulton County who just paid the taxpayers while Fani and Wade was going off on trips. They had to cut down the commissioner's budget because they had to pay out $1 million to this gentleman that she decided was going to be her lover. And he played with her for as long as he could play. And then he decided he couldn't play anymore. She does mainly videos, and she has over 400,000 subscribers. You've never seen her face, but she's excellent. I love the way that she do these videos, and they're not long videos. I was trying to find one. She had one where she had all of those women on her thumbnail, how they're doing what they're doing. It's really sad. And these women brag on being the way they are. They brag on misusing the system, their power, and people. And they don't owe you nothing, they say. And they're not stepping down. And we don't even have enough knowledge to understand the impeachment process. But she named all these women city girls. Boy, I wish I could find just one with all of those women on it. She got some with the movie stars. I don't want them. I want them city girls who are running amok and just bankrupting the towns in which they live. And the people don't know what to do. This lady in Illinois, you know, she locked her whole staff out of the office. And she hired some unscrupulous people to be her right-hand people. As soon as I get off of here, I guarantee you I'll find what I'm looking for. She has one where single women are telling married women to leave their men alone. It's really unbelievable. But she really talk about the behavior of people, period, but mainly women and how they're acting and the things they're doing that just does not make for good sense. And it should not take rocket science, you know. Let's just see a little bit of OG Keisha. Hold on a second. I just need y'all to see this, and perhaps y'all will go and take a look at these people, because they're really talking about some good stuff. They really are. Hold on one second. Let me just let y'all see some of this, because it's really amazing what we have come to be.
Mayor. The town is Elton, Louisiana, outside of Lake Charles, where this mayor right here was charged after she got to tussling with a resident. She was mad that a woman was recording her at a council meeting. Very similar to the cartel city girl mayor that I covered in California. Remember Jess El Chapo Jr. got mad at the resident for recording her too? So she got an active gang member to step to the resident and make her stop recording?
Hey, why are you recording her?
Do you know that this mayor right here, she called my job and tried to get me fired? Did you know that? He tells me that he's from, a gang in our neighborhood. And at that point, I kind of stopped filming.
Well, City Girl Mayor Keisha took matters into her own hands and knocked the cell phone out of the woman's hands. That's why OG City Girl Mayor Keisha has been charged with battery, and not only did she blame her bad behavior on being a mother, but she also got her son involved into this mess. She had him physically go after a man that was one of the people leading the charge for the citizens to recall the election. And yes, her son was arrested and charged for that incident too. I know it's all crazy, but don't worry, I got all the details for you. We're going to get into it, but first, take a second to make sure that you're subscribed to the channel and click the notification bell for all updates. If you're watching from the boot, drop Louisiana below in the comments. I want to hear from you. A council meeting in Elton, Louisiana turned into complete chaos after the town's mayor, Keisha Lemoyne, got physical with a resident at the meeting on Monday, November 27th. It was all caught on camera. The meeting started with the goal to
I'm sorry, I thought y'all could hear me. I don't know if she has her music copyrighted or not, but I heard it playing kind of like over mine. So you guys know where she is. Go and check out some of those. That lady that she showed was not Miss Cottrell from Louisiana. That was another Louisiana lady. Miss Cottrell is way worse than that. Yeah, it is. This culture is just, it's bad. And we as women, mothers, if we don't have birth children, we need to stand up and just tell everybody when we get a chance what it's all about. And it's about life and service and giving. Not being misused and mistreated. There is a difference. But taking charge in a manner that will promote an individual's individuality as opposed to putting them down. We got to do it. So on that note, I guess I've said enough. I've been here 2 hours and a little bit over. I want to thank you all for staying with me tonight. I've had a steady flow of about 19 people. I hope everybody hit the like button. And please share the video or tell someone about it. And if you have not subscribed, consider subscribing. I want to thank all of you all that have subscribed. I did get some new subscribers, and so I want to thank y'all very much. I'll just be doing what I do. I don't know how much more I'm going to cover of this story. I may do another video, maybe just a video, because I want to get back to the topic I was going to be doing, and that's the criminal injustice system is what I want to talk about. And I wanted to start off talking about plea bargains, which a lot of us end up in prison because we plea. We don't really understand the criminal injustice system. We know that it's not been fair to us, and so we don't want to take a chance on going before a jury of our peers. Too many of us do everything we can to get out of jury duty, and then cry when our loved ones are sent off. And some of them may deserve to go off, but everybody that's sent away is not guilty of the crime that they're being accused of, or may not be guilty of any crimes. Could be morally wrong, just like we see what's happening with these individuals there in Georgia. However, that there are some things that they are doing wrong against financial laws and business codes, and we don't know what they are, but I guarantee you that when they have this ethics committee meeting and the different meetings, and this young lady is dodging Congress as if she can dodge Congress and sit in the DA seats forever, That's not going to happen. They're going to have to answer at some point in time. And although Nathan Wade may have been the, cat's meow or the dog's bow wow or whatever he is, when he started this romance, I'm sure today he can't handle what is happening to him. And he's unraveling just like his office. And I don't know how Chris Campbell is staying out of the mess, but I'm sure he's going to be brought in at some point in time, especially with her saying that she has someone else to do those paint contracts and they don't have any contracts with her anymore. But it was said the other day in court that he does still have a contract with her office. And so they got a lot of explaining to do. That's what Ricky used to tell Lucy. And they got a lot of explaining to do. And on that note, I'm going to get ready to leave the Tiger's Den. And I'll leave. I'm going to play a song about CJ. And Charlene reminded me, I believe that's who it was, who talked about the lady who hid Ahmaud Arbery. Someone mentioned that to me up in the chat. Okay, no, it was Runkey Station. CJ is a young man that grew up in that same town, and actually he worked at a company and was dating this young lady named Tiffany Brown. And they were dating. She and her husband were on, I guess, bad terms. Could have been good terms. Who knows? But what ended up happening is she lured CJ to a remote location, and the husband came up, perhaps while she was giving him some sexual gratification. Who knows? But whatever the situation is, he was unalived on the scene. And he happens to be the brother of a prominent guy that's on YouTube that for some reason can't stand me. He said that I'm not trustworthy. I don't know why he would say that, other than I only repeat what they say about themselves. But I met CJ's mother and had an opportunity to do an interview with her. As a matter of fact, I have a video about it where I read all of the information in her impact statement. One of the reasons this young man is not in prison to date, even though everybody knows what he's done, and he had another brother on YouTube just bragging about it, I believe it was yesterday or so. I don't know, but he was bragging about, if he was back in the day, he would do him like, send him a light-skinned woman, he mean. Because this young lady, Tiffany, she's either European or she's mixed. I don't know which one she is, but I think she's European. Because CJ was mixed. And his mom is European and his dad is Asiatic. And he will forever be 22. So I dedicated a song to her that's in my description. And that little song is on Spotify. But the song that I sang here is just one that I do a lot when I go off. But we always try to remember justice for CJ. So if you look at my pen, you'll always see not me. Not me is my hashtag that I came up with when people were bullying me. And I was letting them know, not me. I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to stand for it. And I fought and won in federal court. Clerk's default judgment of $13 million. Now, there is another process that goes with that. But that's where I am now in the process. And I have 10 years of process. So no worries, no hurries. However it goes, it goes. I stand on principle, integrity, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. That's what I stand on. I'm a real ghetto girl from Oak Cliff, Texas, and I truly understand how to navigate through these waters. Sometimes it's treacherous, but one must do what one must do. And I was once inspired by this young man, not the one that I had to take to court, but the one that brought me to YouTube by the beautiful things that he said, none of which was true. We come to find out about CJ, and again, I had the pleasure of interviewing his mother on Uncle Suge's panel with him. And I've had an opportunity to talk to her periodically up until now. And she's doing as well as can be expected, but her baby will forever be 22 years old. And the reason why these people are not in prison is because of the law of privileges. And you know how they was talking about, Terrence Bradley was saying that was privileged information between attorney-client, where there is also the law of privilege between husband and wife. And as long as they're married, they do not have to testify against one another. You can't compel them to do so. And that Jackie lady was the DA back then in Brunswick. And so all the information, all of the evidence disappeared. The girl turned in the gun and everything. She confessed. But because she's married to the guy who actually did the deed, then it had to go away. Because she was the best evidence. So, I remember him for his mom's sake, for his children's sake. He was a father, very active in their lives. As a matter of fact, he had custody of his children. And he was a bit older, a little bit. And he was doing what young guys do, unfortunately, with the wrong one. But I said all that to say that it's so much going on in the world that we don't know about. But when we start communicating with each other, we see that we all really have the same type problems. We all have the same fears. You know, we cry so many tears. And Curtis Mayfield said that. And we die in so many years. And the oppressed seem to suffer the most from every continent, coast to coast. We find in our community, and now they're finding in theirs, our lives are in the hands of the pusher man. And it's totally destroying families. Those of us who say that we love the Lord and we do this and we do that and we go to work every day and we don't have no issues, we don't tend to want to deal with nothing either. It doesn't affect us directly. We think it doesn't affect us, but I guarantee you indirect is just as poignant as direct. Believe it or not. It's real and it does affect you. It affects the environment. It affects your children or when they go away, when they go outside and play, when they go to a game. You know, I just seen when I was studying this story, it was real bad shooting at Six Flags over Georgia. So you can't even go and ride a roller coaster anymore. So many things you can't do. So I'm going to end with CJ. And of course, instead of the children or our future, I opened up with that. I'm going to end with mom. Because a mother's love truly is needed. I think that's something that Fani missed out on. She talks about her dad, but she doesn't mention her mom. And you know what would be strange? If she's actually some kin to me. Because Willis is a maiden name That's my mom's maiden name. And my grandmother had sisters out in California, Los Angeles. I know Watts, but they have children and they could be from Inglewood. So I need to really research that to find out. Whew, it's bad enough to know she was born a day after me. Then to find out Willis, I don't know if that's a married name or a maiden name. Since her dad is a Floyd, I don't know. I thought that was real strange too, how nobody really talks about that. Her dad, they said she hired him, and they said he was John Floyd, the same as the European attorney, John Floyd. Something ain't right about that. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, y'all. Something ain't right about that. It's not. It's a lot that it's not right about what's going on in Fulton County, Atlanta. A lot. Regina says Fani Willis has put a lot of people in jeopardy of their positions and livelihoods due to her unethical behaviors in regards to this historical case. Shaking my head. And that is so true, Regina. And Regina, thank you for doing the Cash App drop. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. She really has. Because all of those people that the defense was going to call, those people really know. And they really are a part of. But with her threatening the wife and her attorney with prosecution, imagine what she's saying to those people who are directly under her. It would behoove her to really just recuse herself. And not if she doesn't want to leave the office, she should go on a little sabbatical. And she should take her boy toy with her. She said she makes over $200,000 a year. So certainly, remember, everything she did was in cash, but he admitted under oath that she paid for one of those tickets with her card. He said that. No, it's not. Okay. She said it's not just in Atlanta, Fulton, Georgia. Corruption is everywhere. I mean, everywhere you go. Our Attorney General been under so many indictments, but he's still acting as the Attorney General and doing what he's doing. And that's of the state of Texas. So I truly understand it is everywhere, even down to your city, even your community. Yeah, anywhere there's people, we're going to find corruption because people have power, and power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's what's happened to a lot of these churches. They took the power away from, I remember when Bishop Jakes came here, it used to be, the Potter's House used to be the Lord's church. And after a while, they quit singing that song and it became his. So it's in all walks of life. Education, entertainment, help, insurance, life or death, either insurance. Yeah, anywhere there's people, there's going to be corruption. And that's why we have to hold ourselves accountable and be responsible for our actions. A lot of families are torn apart because of things that take place in the family. And people assume they know, and they know nothing of what they speak. But they'll cast dispersions on your name and others and think it's okay. It's not okay for anybody to do that. It's not okay. Okay, I done talked the whole 30 minutes. Thank y'all for staying with me. I greatly appreciate it. I want to just tell y'all a little bit about CJ so y'all understand. When you hear the song, I use the song The Beginning of My End, and I don't know, a lot of you are not old enough probably to know that song, so I would ask you to do it, Google it on YouTube, The Beginning of My End, and it's about a beautiful love story and this guy and this girl that got into it, and she drove off and had an accident. Well, this is totally different. This is the call that CJ mom got one Saturday morning. She thought her baby was probably at work, and she got this call. And then you have people on YouTube right now today talking about, you better be glad I ain't like I used to be, because I would, and they explain that situation. So that's a family thing. It seems very familiar to them. I don't know. I'm only going by what is being said and done. And I'm sure that they will have an issue with anybody that says anything. And I'm sure I'll lose about 10 or 20 people. That happens too. But you know what? I came here for me and to help uplift humanity. I started out with 3 subscribers, and you guys have blessed me. And I say blessed knowingly. I don't use the terminology blessed anymore. That requires sacrifice, blood sacrifice, and I don't sacrifice in that manner. Bliss is joy. And, words have definitions, and we need to know what they mean, because they're very important. But we could also define some things for ourselves and make them equally as important. So I wanted y'all to know about CJ and Miss Ann Proctor. That's his mom. It's a struggle for her, but she lives with it every day. It's a struggle for his brother and his sister, but they have to live with it. His sons are getting older, but CJ will forever be 22 years young. And on that note, I'm leaving the tiger's den. Goodbye. Justice for CJ, a son, brother, father, uncle. Up drove the hearse Cadillac. A crowd of people gathered around, all dressed in black. And as they removed his body from the car, such pain she never knew had filled her heart. It happened on an early Saturday morning when the noise from the phone really disturbed her. She wasn't too sure at first just what the caller meant when they informed her that there had been an incident. Why, oh why, the sound of a mother's cry as she gathered herself and wiped the tears from her eyes. Somebody asked who was the next of kin. But oh Lord, it was the beginning of her March 17th, 2018. CJ will forever be 22 years young. Justice for CJ. In a mother's love, you will find everything. Everything's alright. To a mother's love, you are bound. You can rest on sacred ground. In a mother's love, you are free to dream, because she sees what you can be. In a mother's love, you see the sun, enough for two, but you're one. In a mother's love, you can feel when something hurts. You can heal. Yes, a mother's love is real. You grow because she knows to let you go. Yeah, mama. Mama, mama, mama. Mother's love. Mother's love. Yeah. All right. A mother's love. And a mother's love never lies. She believes that you can fly with all of her might. A mother's love. Yay, mama. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us who we used to be. Everybody's searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone to fulfill my needs. A lonely place to be. So I learned to depend on me. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I failed, if I succeed, at least I'll live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity, because the greatest love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love of all inside of me. The greatest love of all is easy to achieve. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. And if by chance that special place that you've been dreaming of takes you to a lonely place, find yourself in love. Did you know that mental health is a family affair? It's a family affair. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. Well, one child grows up to be somebody that just loves to learn, and another child grows up to be somebody you just love to burn. Mama loves the both of them. You see, it's in the blood. Both kids are good to mom. Blood thicker than the mud. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. Oh, a family affair. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. Nobody wants to blow. Nobody wants to be left out. You can't leave because your heart is there. But you can't stay because you've been somewhere else. You can't cry because you look broke down. But you're crying anyway because you're all broke down. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. It's a family affair. Well, it's a family affair. Hey, hey. I don't know what that man had to fix.